to begin with, the Shari'ah is defined loosely as Islamic law. And that in itself creates the problems that Muslims face today, as well as non-Muslims. Translating the word Sharia to mean Islamic law does little to provide the richness that the word itself encompasses, as well as its historicity, to the audience. So what we will do today is, at least at the outset, make the distinction between the Sharia and its application. And then, to facilitate discussion, we'll simply use the term loosely, even though I've already pointed out that such usage creates more problems than provides solutions. The Sharia in Islamic law, in the philosophy that undergirds Islamic law, is a cosmic ideal. It is perfect. It is complete. And it is utterly unattainable. Once again, as far as Islamic law is concerned, in its philosophical dispensation, the Sharia is complete, perfect, and utterly unattainable. Because it is how God wants the world configured. Because it is what God, or as Muslims or Arabic-speaking people actually use the term, Allah, has in mind for humanity. It is to that extent, therefore, cosmic. And because it is divine, it is therefore perfect as well. It is complete because its designer is the omniscient God. So this is that ideal Sharia towards which every Muslim ought to aspire, but whose ultimate accomplishment is forever elusive. The process of determining in human terms what God wants of us is known as fiqh. And the law that Muslims have practiced in the past and try to practice today has been and will always be an approximation of the Sharia. It is an approximation of the Sharia. One uses the process known as fiqh to try and determine in human historicized terms, what is it that God really wants of us? We have some pointers in his sacred book, for Muslims that is, the Quran, but they are no more than that, pointers. Every element of Islam's legal system is actually a synthesis of both the divine and the human. Scholars in the past have, and scholars today still do, use their intellect to determine what God wants of human beings, Muslims specifically, by way of the Quran. But in the process, they historicize the text, contextualize the text. They embellish the text. That process of historicizing, contextualizing, embellishing is known as fiqh, a term not commonly understood outside Islamic scholarly circles. So for today, the first thing we learn is that Sharia is divine ideal and what God wants of us out there. And our approximation of that in this terrestrial life through the process known as fiqh is an approximation of that Sharia. So to that extent, it will always follow a moving target and will always remain imperfect. Now, moving on to the application of the Sharia among Muslims in the past and the present.